an AMD production. Kinney's big year. After marrying Hans at AMD last year, innocent, naive Kinney returned to Delaware to join her husband making sheds. She enjoyed their life, but longed for more than the ho-hum Amish life. Hans decided to cheer up his bride with a trip to Philly to see the Phillies in a World Series game. He heard that Cole Hamels used a bat made by some of his Amish relatives in Parksburg. The excitement of the game and the big city changed Kinney's life. Beer, soft pretzels, cheesesteaks, and sports gambling. Kinney had laid down a couple bucks from her dress on the game with her new bookie friend, Sal. The Fightin' Phils came through, and she parlayed $2 into $75,000. Back in Delaware, Kinney sought excitement. She threw money around town in bars and started hanging out at Delaware Park. Hans didn't mind Kinney's newfound interest in horses, but he didn't understand all this talk about post times and trifectas, and why Kinney smelled like cigarettes and booze, not manure or sugar beets. Kinney went downhill fast. She was out of money and waking up in the gutter. One day she met a Chinese exchange student at a frat party she crashed to get free beer. Wing Hua told Kinney that the Chinese government needed roller skaters for the opening ceremony. That was perfect! Kinney was a roller skating waitress before meeting Hans. Kinney kissed Hans goodbye and left immediately. Over in Beijing, Kinney learned that in addition to roller skating, she would have fireworks strapped to her back. After months of training, Kinney had her big moment. In a freak accident, her hair caught fire during a rehearsal. It was plastic, so no permanent damage was done. But Kinney was no longer attractive enough to be in the ceremony, so the Chinese government kicked her out. She was lucky enough to get new hair from one of the local factories making Barbie dolls, though. Kinney returned to the U.S. to a burn unit in Arizona. John McCain was campaigning, visiting wounded veterans of Olympic opening ceremonies. So impressed with Kinney's bravery, conservative background, and obvious display of money, he impetuously selected her as his vice presidential running mate. On a campaign stop in Alaska, Kinney met Governor Sarah Palin. So impressed with Kinney's love of expensive pageant gowns, the two became best friends. She helped with her hair, makeup, and taught her how to get Republicans to buy her new clothes. But one day Sarah turned on her. While Kinney was adding more dollars to her dress, Sarah locked her in a snowmobile shed. So with Kinney nowhere to be found, John McCain had no choice but to add Sarah Palin to the ticket. Devastated and broke, but with lots of fancy clothes, Kinney took a job as an entertainer on an oil tanker headed to Somalia. She couldn't understand why she had to wear a patch over one eye, but innocent Kinney, she loved the pirate theme, and everyone took it so seriously, they even carried real AK-47s and rocket-propelled grenades. When they reached Somalia, naive Kinney realized that she was a real pirate, as the Coast Guard opened fire on the tanker. Kinney jumped for it. She swam and floated for weeks. Her polyester dress made an excellent raft. She washed up on the beach of Qasr. The people were so friendly and beautiful, wearing turbans and scarves. But the best part was the American soldiers. Kinney felt right at home. She joined the USO and went on a tour of Baghdad. Kinney was an instant success and joined the show Celebrities Alive, Careers Dead. While on tour, she met the once famous Solja Boy. He was inspired by Kinney's story and wrote a new song about her called Kinney Girl. Kinney girl up in the hole, shoot five plies in her soul. Kinney girl up in the hole, horse and buggies, how she roll. Solja's song touched something deep down in Kinney. She remembered her happiest days were with Hans, and she returned to Delaware. Hans was ecstatic. While Kinney was away, Hans made a fortune selling electric fireplace mantles. Now Kinney is happy and content, but can often be found sitting by the electric fire with a mantle from her husband, wearing her eye patch, remembering her big year and all her adventures.